A snowy morning. When I woke up this morning, everything outside my window was covered in white. The streets, the trees, even the old mailbox at the corner, all hidden under a thick layer of snow. The world looked vividly calm, as if it had stopped breathing for a while. I opened the window, swiftly to feel the cold air brushing my face, and I could genuinely sense that today would be different. I made my coffee hastily, almost spilling it, because I wanted to sit by the window and watch the snowflakes fall. They moved gracefully through the air, dynamically changing direction with the wind. I gradually began to feel peaceful, as though time itself had slowed down to match the rhythm of the falling snow. My neighbor, Mrs. Parker, was outside already, shoveling the snow. She waved at me politely, and I waved back respectfully. We don't talk much, but we mutually understand each other's quiet mornings. Similarly, her cat was sitting by the fence, watching her eagerly, its tail moving rhythmically with curiosity. A few hours later, the calm morning shifted. The city began to wake up. Cars moved abruptly on the icy road, and a few people walked awkwardly, trying not to fall. The sound of snow crunching under boots echoed vividly through the street. I noticed a man arguing on the phone, fiercely, almost shouting, and I thought how different everyone reacts to the same morning. At that moment, I decided to take a short walk. I dressed accordingly for the weather: 2 sweaters, a thick coat, gloves, and a scarf. The wind hit my face fiercely, but I kept going. On my way, I saw an old cafe I used to visit during college. Unintentionally, I smiled. So many memories came back vividly: long talks, unfinished dreams, and cups of coffee that lasted longer than the conversations. Inside the cafe, it was warm and familiar. The owner, Mr. Harris, recognized me immediately and greeted me sincerely. "It's been a while," he said. I nodded reluctantly, not sure if I wanted to explain where life had taken me. We spoke openly after a few minutes. He told me business had changed considerably since the pandemic. "People don't come as often," he said calmly, "but those who do come stay longer." I smiled genuinely. That was exactly what I needed that morning, a place to stay longer. I watched people through the foggy window. Some worked dutifully on their laptops, others read books quietly. Everyone seemed to be living differently, yet systematically following their own routines. I thought about how I'd been living unilaterally for years, making decisions without really asking anyone's opinion. Perhaps it was time to change that, to live more mutually, to share things again. A young woman sat next to me, and we began to talk. She was a writer, passionately describing her novel about city life. I listened attentively, and when she asked what I did, I answered hesitantly. I told her I used to work in an office but left to find something that made sense. She nodded knowingly. "You sound like someone who thinks rationally but feels intentionally," she said eloquently. I laughed awkwardly, unsure whether that was a compliment or a quiet judgment. We talked for hours. She spoke candidly about her fears of failure, and I shared mine openly. There was no need to pretend. We both seemed to understand each other instinctively, almost as if the snow had brought us there unintentionally, yet accordingly to some invisible plan. When I left the cafe, the snow had stopped. The street was shining brightly under the pale winter sun. I walked home slowly and calmly, thinking about how that simple morning had turned into something significant. I realized that life changes gradually, not all at once. We move forward systematically, and sometimes the smallest mornings hold the biggest transformations. At home, I cleaned the window glass carefully and sat down with a new notebook. The pages were empty, waiting. I began to write imaginatively, describing the morning as I saw it, trying to capture the emotions accurately. Every word flowed creatively, and I felt genuinely alive. I paused for a moment and looked outside again. A child was building a snowman bravely despite the cold, while his sister laughed passionately nearby. Their parents watched dutifully, holding warm cups of coffee. That image, so simple, so ordinary, stayed with me vividly. Maybe happiness, I thought, isn't something we chase fiercely, but something that finds us quietly when we stop trying too hard. Maybe it appears when we stop acting unreservedly strong and start admitting, sincerely, that we need connection. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was systematically replaying the day. The girl at the cafe, the snow, the peace. I thought about writing to her, voluntarily, not because I had to, but because I wanted to continue that honest conversation. I typed a message cautiously, read it twice, and sent it reluctantly. To my surprise, she replied swiftly, "I was hoping you'd text," she wrote warmly. I smiled, genuinely this time. The next morning, I woke up readily. The snow was still there, but it didn't feel the same. It wasn't a lonely silence anymore, it was a new beginning. I made my coffee gracefully, not hastily this time. The city outside was alive, people moving dynamically, life flowing rationally and logically again. And for the first time in a while, I felt I was part of it. A snowy morning had reminded me that everything, love, hope, change, comes gradually, accordingly, and sometimes unintentionally. And that's the beauty of it.